Welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I'm David Wasson, and I'm here with women's head track and field coach Chris Tatom. How are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
So obviously this is your first year as the women's head track and field coach. What made you want to take this opportunity and bring your coaching skills to the next level?
Yeah, number one, there was an opening, so that's always the first step, right? But number two, I'm a competitor. I want to compete at the highest levels possible. So that really stuck out to me in this opportunity. But we also have a very talented team, and I know what's coming up as well. And there was a really good opportunity here at the high school level to compete, not just in the conference and the county, but also at the state level.
Yeah, I completely agree. So also basing off of, this being your first year high school coach and coaching at a program you once ran for, how does it feel to know you're giving back to the program that you once trained under?
It means a lot. Actually, one of my assistant coaches, Coach Burton, he was my track and field coach when I was going through high school. So to be able to coach with him, but also really grow this program and build upon the foundation that was laid by Coach Foster and a lot of other coaches as well means a ton to me. I love this school and I love the program.
Yeah, that definitely has to bring some good nostalgia. You also ran in college. What were your experiences like that made you want to continue in this running community by taking a junior high coaching position in Greenfield-Central 4 years ago?
Yeah, so I was never like the best runner really on any of my teams once I got out of junior high school. So that gave me a lot of opportunity to kind of study the sport, figure out different race strategies that worked for me, because I was never one of those kids that could just run away from people in a race. I had to be a little bit more strategic. And then college, that's where I really learned a lot about training and weightlifting and conditioning and things like that that have really helped me in coaching. So I knew the next step for me personally was never going to be a professional athlete. I was never going to race competitively, at least, for money or things like that. So the next step was coaching.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing to hear. And, knowing that you still coach junior high cross country, what were the biggest challenges and or differences switching from two complete opposite training spectrums?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one is obviously the intensity of your training picks up from junior high into high school. So trying to figure out what's too much and what isn't enough. Really in December and January, I kind of did some troubleshooting with our workouts and either needed to bring down the rest time a little bit from what the junior hires were used to or bring up the volume. And really, I made some workouts too hard. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit there with some of them. So just trying to figure out some of that stuff, I think, has been the biggest adjustment to make. But my style of coaching really hasn't changed. I wanted to be intentional, not to change who I was, my leadership style, and how I interacted with the kids. I wanted to make sure that stayed consistent.
Yeah, I definitely recognize some of those workouts from junior high that you still do here at the high school. So you coach mostly all these girls in junior high. Us seniors were one of your first groups you ever coached. What has it been like noticing and seeing the changes and improvements from the girls you once coached?
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch. The senior class I really only coached during, I think, your 8th grade track season. So I didn't coach you in cross country, but the junior class is the first class that I had year round, and to see them continuing to improve has been really, really cool to see. We have a couple of distance girls who, the past couple of years they haven't, she hasn't been able to break 15 in the 2 mile. Well, last night she was under 13 minutes in the 2 miles. So to see those jumps and that improvement is really, really fun to see. And it tells us that we're doing something correct within the program.
Yeah, it's got to be a great, fascinating feeling because you guys have really been, hitting it hard, training very well. So bouncing off of that, the girls had probably the most successful indoor season they've ever had, breaking the DMR record, the 4x8 record, 3,200 record, and even placing top 10 at state. Was that below, at, or above expectations? And what was your mindset like during this whole indoor season?
It was at expectation. We kind of knew what we had coming in, just with Mia, Josie, Adeline. We knew that we had Lexi coming up. We have Taylor as well, Addison. So we had a lot of depth coming in. So we knew that the relays were going to be pretty good. And just looking at the previous school records, we had a really good feeling that we wouldn't just beat them, but we would shatter those records. which we did. And if I kind of had us earmarked in the DMR at about a 12:24, we ended up with a 12:28, and I knew that would put us about top 10 in the state. So getting 10th is right at what our expectations were.
Yeah, especially since I'm pretty sure all of them are returning next year, if I'm not mistaken. So
They are.
looking for bigger and better goals next year.
Absolutely.
So going back to the training side of things, what is aerobic and anaerobic training, and what does that look like in your training plan throughout the season?
Yeah, so aerobic training is like a lot of tempo runs, your longer, easy to moderate paced runs. That's really building up your stamina and your endurance more than anything else. Whereas anaerobic are workouts where we're purposefully putting them into oxygen debt, repetition after repetition. They should not be fully recovered. They should still be breathing pretty heavily before they start their next rep. And that really helps them when you think of like the fourth lap of a mile and you have 400 to go. Well, you need something in the tank at the end. Your body has to be used to running really fast even though it's tired, and that's where those anaerobic workouts come into play. So how we block off our training sections with the distance runners is we work a lot aerobically from November till mid to late February, and then March, April, May we're really hitting hill workouts, we're hitting the speed work on the track, which is that anaerobic side of training.
Yeah, so bouncing off of the hill workout you just mentioned, we had an opportunity to come and film that Rally Hill workout.
Yeah.
What were some of the benefits of that workout, and what skills does that workout help your runners develop?
Yeah, so they did 10 by 400 meter repeats on the Riley Park Hill with 90 seconds of walking recovery. And what that does is build strength within the muscles, but it also builds that endurance that they'll need on that third lap of the mile, fifth lap, sixth lap of the 2 mile, and then that middle 300 of the 800. So the strength that they need for those races, that's what hill workouts really help build.
Yeah, definitely a challenging workout, I will say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors that go into running, like nutrition and recovery. What types of nutrition and recovery would you recommend to people who would want to get into competitive racing?
Yeah, I mean, cut out the sugar. So cut out the pop, the soda, cut out energy drinks, limit your caffeine intake. Chicken, any protein is really good for after a hard workout, after lifting. Carb loading the night before a race is huge. Just making sure that you're taking care of your body and just eating foods that you know are healthy. That's really the key. If you know you shouldn't be eating dessert, you probably shouldn't be eating dessert.
Yeah, 100%. So running is one of the highest injury-prone sports. How do you find that fine line between training runners hard while keeping them injury-free?
Yeah, that comes down to a lot of post-run work. So lifting twice a week, we're in the weight room a lot, and that really builds strength around the tendons that are a little bit more fragile within the body. You think of the patellar tendon on the knee, some tendons in the ankle. Those need strengthened, and the best way to do that is in the weight room. We do hip mobility exercises on the hurdles, so those help keep the hip flexors strong. We do band work, which also works on strengthening those tendons and those more fragile areas on the body. And then when it comes to running, you know, if your base mileage is 5 or 6 miles a day, it's unwise to put you out there at a 10 or 11 mile run.
Yeah.
Right. So just being a little bit wise with the volume, intensity, that'll come later in the season after they're already built up and strong runners already.
Yeah, so you've probably had some runners face some injury. How do you keep them mentally strong even when they're in probably the lowest parts of their season being hurt?
Yeah, keeping it light at practice, just with humor, making sure that I'm optimistic and confident that their rehab is going to work will help them be confident that their rehab is working as well.
Yeah. So leading off of that strong indoor season, what are your expectations going into the rest of this outdoor season?
Yeah, I think we can compete at a very high level this year. My goal as a coach is never to just compete at the conference or county level, like we want to do that, but we're looking at state, we're looking at sectionals, we're looking at regionals. What are the best teams in the state doing? What are their times looking like? That's what I want to compare. That's who I want to compare our team with. So I think county is a very realistic goal to have this year for our team. It's a little early to see with our conference right now, just where we stack up. We have a pretty strong conference when it comes to women's track and field. So we'll see how the season shakes out with that. But I would say conference and county first and foremost are our biggest goals this season.
Yeah, I mean, those are great goals, and you got a very young, talented squad, so maybe you can shoot for the stars next year with bigger and better goals. All right, so how do you coach all runners at like different skill levels? How do you either bring them up, or the top dogs, how do you keep them moving up forward to get better and better?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of view coaching a team like a remote control. Like every button on a remote control does something a little bit different to your TV. Well, every single runner has a different button that you need to push to motivate them. So for one of our runners, I sensed a little bit of complacency. And so I just brought up the fact that, hey, this season you haven't beaten your top rival yet. So motivating that athlete is different than motivating a different athlete who may not have a particular rival on a different team. It's, well, hey, you're actually doing better this year than you were this time last year. And that can be helpful to a runner that's motivated based off of, year by year progression. When it comes to different types of events, we have a mid-distance group and we have a longer distance group. So our 4, 8, some 1,600 runners, they're going to be more in that mid-distance group, whereas typically our mile and 2 milers will be doing different workouts in their own group. So it really just comes down to what motivates each particular athlete.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, bouncing off of that training plan, you have a completely different training plan than the previous coach. What was it like trying to get those girls who were used to the training before accommodated to yours, and what big changes did you make?
We definitely upped the mileage. We're doing a lot of mileage right now, probably more so than what they're used to. But I talked to them early on in the year, and I said, look, I know I coached a lot of you in junior high, but what you're going to experience this off season, so November through March really, is going to be very different than what you're used to. But it's a process that I've built over time. It's a process that's proven to work. Last year at the junior high, we had 5 different girls under 6 minutes in the mile. I believe we had 6 girls under 3 minutes in the 800. And just sharing those statistics with them helped them really buy into what we are doing. And so far, it's worked. They saw it pay off early in January at some club indoor meets. They were hitting personal bests, and there's been buy-in ever since.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So you're already halfway done, You're already that high school girls track coach. What would stop you from fully taking over the program and taking the girls cross country coach if Burton were to retire?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Burton's a great coach. County Coach of the Year, Conference Coach of the Year this last year, Conference and County champs for cross country. So, if he was to ever step away, I would probably throw my name in the hat and whatever happens, happens. But I'm not really thinking that far ahead right now. I'm just focusing in on doing well where I'm placed at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good present mindset to have. So building off of that, with this young talent in your big, decently sized junior class, how will this lead you going into the 2027 track season? And what are some big goals you hope the team fulfills?
Yeah, I think, like you said a little earlier, having some lofty goals next year is good, and it's wise. And it's wise to have. Next year, I want to be county champs. I want to be conference champs. And I really want a sectional and regional title eventually. Those banners have no years on them in the gym for women's track and field. And I really want to change that. I don't know if it'll happen next year, but I know this year and next year are going to be huge building blocks for the future.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I want to bring back this last nostalgia question. I asked you this question my freshman year, but I want to come back on it. What legacy do you hope to leave behind here in the GC running program?
Yeah, I want this to be known as one of the best programs in the county, in the conference, and in the state. Right now, I don't think a lot of the state views us as a threat at the moment. I know teams in the county and in the conference do, but I want to be known as a team that's going to compete at the highest level year in and year out at the state meet, at regionals, and at sectionals as well.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you, Coach Tatum, and good luck on the rest of your season.
Thank you so much, David.
Of course.